think part of the non-updating of, it's all simple things. In a lot of cases, it's not updating software. So, not updating their Windows packages and other software packages and keeping those patching up to date, even in some cases where they could have them automated and it's done for them. So that just leaves compromises, backdoors open. And again, the same with the likes of firewalls. People buy a firewall and think, this firewall is going to protect me as this invisible force. But they're not configuring their firewall, or they think they're not configuring it correctly. And two, they're not updating the firmware, and there's been a number of compromises on firewalls, which we've all heard about. Firewall vendors' systems have been breached, letting the criminals in the back door that way. So it's about updating the firmware on the firewalls and having the firewalls correctly configured. One example I use is a company that they only operated within the UK market. They had no requirement to have any internet access to any sites or anything outside of the UK, yet their firewall was open for business throughout the world. So they basically could let people in from anywhere. So if they had have simply configured the firewall to no IP addresses outside of the UK, they wiped out that threat automatically, because they didn't need, I know some businesses do need that facility, but simple things like that. And again, staff training. Some of the procedures we've seen in relation to passwords with staff, and the amount of administrator rights on server equipment and that sort of stuff. You could go into a business and they could have a reasonable sized suite of server equipment and physical hardware for their staff and whatever, and you have 25 people with admin rights and that, and you go, what are you doing?
I suppose what we see with that is that's nearly all done for the convenience of that business and the suppliers. Like CCTV vendors in particular, we see have a lot of access rights and access privileges to firewalls, and will tend to open up particular ports that we don't want opened up for their convenience. So the challenge that we face now, we've seen a huge spike in this activity, and I think that you've got the dark web, which is the perfect platform for the threat actors to operate on. You've got Bitcoin, the perfect currency for them to basically evade being caught. I demoed to a bank recently that I won't name, and I had the audacity to ask them, is there nothing more you can do in terms of doing traceability in Bitcoin? And their reply to me was, you obviously haven't invested in Bitcoin. So there's a certain amount of people out there that don't seem to really have an appetite to close these opportunities. Like the dark web is funded by the US government. I think the only reason it's open to everyone's use is that if they and they alone used it, the people who could identify who was using it would know that they were members of the American military. So that's why it's been thrown out to the World Wide Web. That's sort of hidden web. But we as a company now really feel for a customer base that they're going to have to spend some money that they haven't spent before. I try to always give very simple analogies. So 25, 30 years ago, did you spend any money in health and safety? Did you have a budget for your mobile phone contract? No, we didn't, but we all do now, and you couldn't run a business without that in place. So, we certainly have solutions in place that can mitigate the risk. Nothing will sort the risk 100%, but we can definitely reduce the attack surface.